Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 182. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. One of the things that has been the biggest game changer for me and my decluttering and simplifying journey is looking at the areas in my life where I can reduce decision fatigue. And if you've heard of decision fatigue, it is the deteriorating quality of decisions over a period of time. And supposedly we make 35,000 decisions a day. And I think for moms it's higher because we're making also decisions on behalf of our children. So today I'm going to be sharing the 10 areas where I have decluttered my life by simplifying. And I hope that it inspires you to look at where you can simplify in your own life too. So, what do you say? Grab that notebook and pen, and let's dive into today's episode. Hey there, Mama. Are you tired of all the stuff crowding your home, calendar, and mind? Do you wish you could say goodbye to the endless to-do list running around in your head? Want to declutter but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm, where you will find proven and practical solutions to declutter your home, head, and heart. Hi, I'm Emily, a wife, boy mom, and simplicity seeker. I struggled to get pregnant and felt overwhelmed until I discovered decluttering could create the physical and emotional space I needed to become a mom. Now, 2 kids later, I've transformed my life and motherhood by developing simple systems around decluttering, capsule wardrobes, kid stuff, cleaning and tidying, meal planning, time management, and more, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're ready to reclaim the time and energy you crave, be present with your kids, and finally enjoy the life and motherhood you so deserve, let's kick overwhelm to the curb, shall we? Grab your lukewarm coffee, your notebook and pen, and clear off some counter space. Let's do this. If you haven't already joined the Decluttering Tips and Support for Overwhelmed Moms Facebook group, it's over at tinyurl.com/moms overcoming overwhelm. And at the beginning of March, we are going to start a special challenge coinciding with Lent. And even if you are not doing anything special for Lent from a religious or spiritual perspective, it's going to be a decluttering challenge, which is going to last through the 40 days of Lent. So this was a recommendation from a friend and podcast listener. I thought it was a great one. So getting the details ready, but if you want to join the group, that is where everything is going to be happening. And I hope to see you there. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to dive into these. And if you check out the show notes today, I'm going to be linking to episodes that relate to these areas. Most of them I have spoken about on the podcast before. I also am in the process of finalizing some decluttering playlists. So I'll have one that has to do with clothing and wardrobe, specifically kids stuff and family. That way you can find episodes that pertain to your specific pain points or questions. So let's go ahead and start with area number 1, which is clothing. Now, one of the things that has been most life-changing for me has been to simplify my clothing, to have more of a capsule or limited wardrobe. And I will be talking about laundry a little bit later in the episode, but I do laundry every day by choice because I've made it a daily habit. And that means that I don't need to have a lot of clothing because I already gravitate towards my favorites and they're clean every day or every other day. So when you think about choice overload, which is when too many choices decreases our happiness, our closet is a prime example of this. If you go in and there's just way too many clothes, you don't even know what you have, you don't know what goes together, then it's very complicated and stressful first thing in the morning. So I highly recommend simplifying clothing. I'm going to link to Color Guru in the show notes today. That has been huge for me as far as figuring out what to keep in my wardrobe because I know what colors look good on me and then I can just go forward with that. And kind of moving through the morning after you wake up and get dressed, the next thing that I've simplified is my makeup and my personal care products. So I know it's really easy to maybe get samples of things, or perhaps you try something and you're like, I don't know if I like it. And then you end up having half empty bottles of every sort of thing. And I've really streamlined, especially using Color Guru for the coloring for my makeup, but also for my personal care products, like for my shampoo and conditioner and hair stuff, just that I know the few things that work for me, and those are the only things that are in the shower. I have a small makeup bag where I have, a couple lipstick choices, a couple of eyeshadow choices, and that works for me. Now, for any of these, if you love makeup, you want to have a ton of different choices, it brings you joy and happiness, then by all means, go ahead. But if you're like me and you're trying to reduce the number of decisions for things that don't matter as much, for me, makeup falls into that category, and I just want to make it as simple as possible to get ready in the morning. So that's the second area that I have simplified. All right, moving on. The third area is daily movement and exercise. So I've been doing Sydney Cummings Hodishell. I think that's how you say your last name. And she's on YouTube and she posts exercise videos 3 times a week. And I just know that that's what I'm going to do. It's primarily strength training with some cardio. And then on Fridays, I have my fun Zumba class. So because I already know what's happening, it's just a matter of getting my workout clothes on first thing in the morning. I've been experimenting with exercising for 30 minutes before the kids go to school, with the exception of the day for my Zumba class. And it just really works for me because putting my clothes out, my workout clothes the night before, it's not a decision. I just know that I'm going to be working out. This is happening. And it really improves my mental and emotional health when I do that. So that's something I simplified. And again, for all of these, it may just be that you simplify it for a season. You don't have to do something forever, but maybe looking at a season of a couple months and saying, okay, in order to simplify, I'm going to experiment with limiting my choices with some of these things. And speaking of experimentation and limiting choices, meal planning is number 4. Now, this is a constant evolution for me because I don't particularly enjoy meal planning, and sometimes I will make things that my whole family likes and then I make it again and my kids act like it's the most disgusting thing ever. Has that ever happened to you? So you think like, oh, I've got a winner, and then you make it again and they're like, I don't know. So I do use AnyList. It is the program that helps me the most. I have a list of my favorites, things I get at the grocery store or at Costco almost every time. That really helps with my meal planning and grocery list. And then I have several recipes, everything saved in AnyList, so I don't have to be looking in multiple places. And it's very easy to save things from the web to AnyList and just import those recipes. I also categorize them by main dishes or slow cooker or by the protein type so that I know when I need to defrost things. And that's been working really well for me. And also just kind of keeping it simple and realizing that my family doesn't have very high standards. Yesterday we had basketball at kind of a inopportune time and we came back. I needed to do something really quick. So we ended up just doing bagels and scrambled eggs and bacon, and that was it. And my kids were perfectly happy. My husband was happy. So I didn't have to do anything super complicated. So in as much as you can, simplifying meal planning, and as I like to say, lowering the bar always helps, and then it frees up energy for other things. All right, we're moving on to number 5, which is chores and cleaning. So I already mentioned daily laundry. I have an episode about laundry and what I do if you want to learn more. It is not an area of stress for me simply because I do it every day. And if it doesn't make sense for you to do every day, perhaps it makes sense more to assign certain days of the week to certain people, if you have older kids, for example. And then for cleaning, it's something where I've experimented with doing a little bit through the week. But what I've been doing lately is just having a chunk of time on the weekends, getting the kids to help, having my husband help if possible, and then we just get it done. And I like that better actually in this season because I don't have to be like, okay, what am I doing today? And what's the assignment? And I can just sort of, unless we're going out of town, just kind of have that be a maybe 2-hour chunk on the weekends. And the great news about a clutter-free home and working towards a clutter-free home is that it does make it a lot easier to clean. So And now I have the kids doing the bathrooms, which is the part that I dislike the most. And being able to, with helping them, but delegate that to them has been really helpful too. All right, hopefully you're enjoying this list so far. It's getting the wheels turning in your own brain. Next, we have paper processing, which is the bane of many people's existence. So the way that I've simplified this has been partially routines. I get the mail when I go out to the bus stop to get the kids. So having an anchor or some sort of trigger that you know, okay, this is when I'm getting the mail. And then when I come back in, I immediately go through it. So junk mail gets tossed out, open any envelopes that might be for bills or something that requires some sort of action. And then I have that physical inbox tray in the kitchen where it stays until the evening. Similarly, when my kids come home, take everything out of the backpacks. Okay, if it's like a random worksheet, we're just going to toss that. If it's anything that requires action, or we just want to find out more about the assignment that they did or the project, then it will go in my inbox. And oftentimes, because it's in the kitchen, it lends itself well to conversation during dinner because we can ask them about the projects that they did in school and actually look at them. And then after they go to bed is when I'm reviewing that paper, if any action needs to be taken, putting dates on the calendar, doing any scanning, and so forth. And sometimes I don't do it every day, but usually it's every couple days just because I don't want the paper to be backing up. And if you do a physical inbox, you can use the top of that inbox as a natural boundary for when it's time to take a look at everything. So that would be a good reminder. All right, number 7, moving right along, is electronic life. The digital clutter is the most challenging for me, I will say, but there are some things I've done to simplify that have been really helpful. First of all, I am ruthless about unsubscribing to emails. I was traveling recently, and in order to join the Wi-Fi in the airport, you had to give your email address. So naturally, I got an email from the airport the other day. Well, I travel to that location maybe once a year. So I promptly unsubscribed. And a lot of times that seems like a lot of work, but the good news is, at least in Gmail, at the top of the email, it usually has something, a link for you to unsubscribe right away. So they make it easy for you. You don't have to search for that unsubscribe link. That's one area that I've simplified. I also have been putting limits on my phone for social media. I'm using an app called Opal, which is free. There's a free version. So in the morning, also during dinner time, and on the weekends, I have certain blocks of time where Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, and YouTube, I think, are not available to me. So that's been really simplifying my digital life because I'm not tempted to go on those apps as much. Also, photos, I try to review any photos that I've taken for the day, like as I'm laying in bed before I go to bed. It's a good way to kind of remember what happened for the day, but then also to keep your photo number under control. And then finally, when it comes to any sort of documents, I mentioned that I have that paper processing that I try to do in the evenings or every other night. And then I just use Apple Notes to store that, or perhaps just doing it in folders on my actual computer. And we're going to have an upcoming guest talking all about digital organization where you can learn a bit more. Okay, we're already at number 8. And we are moving on to kids stuff. And I know that's a very broad category. That can be toys, that can be books, clothing, all sorts of stuff, right? The ways that I have simplified my kids' clothing has been having a limited amount, so following kind of a capsule wardrobe concept, which is what I do for myself. And also for their books, we primarily use the library. We have a couple shelves in our main floor that are dedicated for library books. And then we don't really buy a lot of books. And if I do buy books and then they grow out of them and they don't really like them anymore, then I'll donate them to our library as well. When it comes to toys, especially when my kids were younger, there was a lot more kind of bulky, bigger things. but really limiting what is available to them at any given time is key. You can do a toy rotation, or you can use the out of sight, out of mind bin, which is where you put some away for a while. And then it's more with the idea that if they don't ask about anything for 30, 60 days, you can consider giving it away, as opposed to toy rotation, which might be every couple weeks you're rotating things in and out. So those are some of the ways that I have simplified kid stuff. The other thing is artwork. I have something called Artwork Purgatory, which is a hamper in my closet. So if there's a lot of artwork coming in, I will put it in there, and then periodically we'll review it, keep and scan what I want, and then get rid of the rest. But it's like an out of sight, out of mind bin for artwork specifically, or crafts, or those types of things. Well, we're already at number 9. Can you believe it? And that is weekly planning. Again, I've had different iterations of this in my past, but as of right now, I'm doing my meal planning usually on Sunday, because I do a grocery pickup typically on Monday. So I'm just picking my meals and then going into the grocery store app and planning that. The other main things I'm doing is looking at my calendar for the following week, making sure I know where my work blocks are, where my appointments are, if I have to pick the kids up, having a conversation if needed with my husband about coordinating things with him. And that's pretty much it. I would like to have a little bit of a more robust planning routine, but as of right now, it's working for me. It's not overwhelming, and it's kind of like the baseline of what needs to be planned for the next week. And the last is decluttering and tidying routines. So the best way that I stay accountable for decluttering is actually through the Facebook group when we're doing the decluttering challenges. And that really helps me stay on track. Also, just as the kids are growing out of things, I'm able to put them aside for donating. If there are things that can't be donated that are clothing or shoes, I've been using a company called Trashy, and I'll link to it in the show notes, but they have a way that you can responsibly recycle textiles. They also have a bag specifically for e-waste and tech stuff that I am going to be using for cords, and you can put old phones in there, and there's lots of different things that you can do if you have electronic waste. So just looking for some of those options, and as things are coming across and like, oh yeah, that's something I want to declutter, then having the accountability is great, but then also knowing some of these options. And of course, the local Buy Nothing group, always great. And usually I will batch that, and I will take 4 or 5 things that I've had sitting around and post those. There's also a thrift store and of course Goodwill near me, and that is an option too. So those are the 10 areas that I have been simplifying. Just to review, we have clothing is number 1, number 2, makeup and personal care, 3, exercise and daily movement, 4, meal planning, 5, chores and cleaning, 6, paper processing, 7, electronic life, 8, kids stuff, 9, weekly planning, and 10, decluttering and tidying routines. So if you need any help specifically with any of these areas that you would like to simplify or declutter, I am available for virtual coaching. We can figure out your biggest pain point area and then develop systems to help you in that specific area. I would love to be able to do that for you. And you can find out more at simplebyemmy.com/coaching. And you can always email me at info@simplebyemmy.com if you have any questions or want to learn more. So thanks so much. Hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye for now. If you like today's podcast, here's what you can do. Just take 30 seconds to leave me a review. I know you're a busy mama. You're overwhelmed, in fact, but 30 seconds of your day makes such an impact. I'll be blessed by your words. They'll definitely make my day. And who knows, you might be entered for this month's giveaway. In Apple Podcasts, scroll down to write a review. Thanks so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you.